The flickering gaslight of the old chess club cast long, dancing shadows across the worn wooden tables. A hush fell over the few patrons as the door creaked open, revealing a figure known only as Bat's Life. No one knew his real name or where he came from, but his reputation as an enigmatic chess master preceded him. Tonight, a young, eager player named Rizalino had managed to secure a game with him, hoping to glean some of his wisdom. Bat's Life, a man of wiry build with eyes that seemed to miss nothing, settled into his chair. He moved with a quiet intensity, much like the creatures he was rumored to study. The board was set, the pieces gleaming under the dim light. Bat's Life mirrored the move, then leaned back, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Rizalino," he began, his voice a low rumble. "You understand the basic goal of chess, do you not? To checkmate the king." Rizalino nodded eagerly. "Yes, of course. And how do we best achieve that?" Bat's Life continued, his gaze drifting towards the window, where the first stars were beginning to pepper the twilight sky. "By controlling the center," Rizalino frowned. "I've heard that, but I don't truly understand why it's so important." Bat's Life's eyes twinkled. Then let me tell you about the bats." "Imagine a colony of bats," Bat's Life said, gesturing subtly with his hand. "Their roost, their home, is often in a dark cave, a safe haven. But their survival, their very life, depends on their ability to forage for food, for insects, out in the open night sky." He paused, letting the image settle. "The center of the chessboard, Rizalino, is like that prime foraging ground. It's the most fertile, most open space. Think of the pieces. Your knights, your bishops, your rooks, even your queen. Where do they have the most reach, the most influence? Rizalino considered this. From the middle, they can go in more directions." Precisely," Bat's Life exclaimed, a rare spark of animation in his usually reserved demeanor. "A knight on the edge of the board controls far fewer squares than a knight in the center. A bishop, similarly, has a wider sweep of the board from the central diagonals. When your pieces control the center, they're like bats flitting through a rich, insect-filled sky. They have access to more opportunities, more targets, and more avenues for attack and defense. Now consider a bat's most vital tool, echolocation," Bat's Life continued, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "They send out sound waves, and by listening to the echoes, they create a detailed map of their surroundings. They know where obstacles are, where their prey is, where their fellow bats are." He gestured to the chessboard. "When you control the center, Rizalino, you are essentially establishing your own echolocation. Your pawns and pieces in the middle project their influence outwards, giving you a better map of the board. You can anticipate your opponent's moves, identify weaknesses, and plan your attacks with greater precision. If your pieces are scattered on the edges, you're like a bat trying to hunt with dulled senses, unable to truly see the opportunities. And what happens to a bat that strays too far from the group, too far from the prime foraging ground?" Bat's Life asked, his gaze sharpening. "It becomes isolated. It's harder for it to find food, and it's more vulnerable to predators. It loses the collective strength and awareness of the colony." He pointed to Rizalino's side of the board, where a few of his pieces remained undeveloped on the back rank. "When your pieces remain on the periphery, or when your opponent dominates the center, your forces become fragmented. They can't support each other effectively. They become isolated, much like that lone bat. Your king, in particular, will find itself more exposed without the protective cloud of your pieces controlling the central squares." Bat's Life then made a series of rapid moves, his pieces flowing into the center, establishing a dominant position with effortless grace. Rizalino watched, mesmerized, as his own pieces suddenly seemed stifled, their movements restricted. "The goal, Rizalino," Bat's Life concluded, leaning forward and meeting Rizalino's gaze directly, "is not just to occupy the center, but to control it. To establish a presence that allows your pieces to radiate influence outwards, to provide mutual support, and to give your king a secure haven while simultaneously threatening your opponents. It's the difference between a struggling bat, barely surviving, and a thriving colony dominating the night. He sat back, a slight smile on his face. Now, Rizalino, let us play. But this time, remember the bats. Remember the importance of the center. Rizalino nodded, a newfound understanding dawning in his eyes.